All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling a fascinating paradox, a god whose literal job was to build the universe itself. We're looking at a deity who holds arguably the most important title in any pantheon, the Creator. But if you look around today, there's something incredibly, peculiar about his legacy. So here's the central mystery we're investigating. Why does the creator of literally everything have so few followers? I mean, in the grand tapestry of Hindu mythology, you've got this supreme trinity, right? The Trimurti. You have the preserver, the destroyer, and the creator. You'd logically think the entity responsible for bringing the cosmos and all life into existence would be universally revered. But surprisingly, that just isn't the case.
Actually, when you compare Brahma, the creator, to Shiva, the destroyer, and Vishnu, the preserver, the contrast is pretty shocking. Across India, there are millions, literally countless, thriving centers of worship dedicated to Shiva and Vishnu. But for Brahma, there are barely any. The most famous one is just a single temple in Pushkar, Rajasthan. It really makes you wonder, how did a supreme creator become so marginalized?
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the unworshipped creator, a deity's decline. And to understand that decline, we first need to jump into Section 2, decoding the image, symbols of creation.
Okay, before we get too deep, we absolutely have to untangle some terminology because it can get a bit confusing. You've got Brahman, with an N at the end, which is this abstract, genderless, metaphysical concept of ultimate reality in Hindu philosophy. Think of it as the impersonal universal principle. But then you have Brahma, ending in an A. That's the distinct, masculine creator god we're focusing on today, who some texts say actually created himself inside a golden embryo called the Hiranyagarbha. So they're definitely related, but they are very different concepts.
Now, what's really fascinating here is Brahma's unique iconography. Unlike a lot of other gods, Brahma holds tools of knowledge and creation rather than weapons of war. No swords or spears here. Instead, he's got 4 faces, each pointing to a cardinal direction, and he's credited with creating the 4 Vedas, the sacred texts. He sits calmly on a lotus, riding a swan, and in his hands, he's holding a mala, which symbolizes the time of creation, a shruka, or ladle for the sacrificial fire, a kamandalu water pot representing the cosmic waters, and of course, the Vedas themselves. Basically, he's a sage-like architect, not a warrior.
All right, let's get into the drama. Section 3, the fall from grace, mythological decline. So, how did this grand architect lose his following? Well, the mythological fable of his downfall is wild. It involves a cosmic race, a massive lie, and a devastating curse. According to the Shiva Purana, Brahma and Vishnu were having this intense argument over who was the absolute greatest. Out of nowhere, this massive, infinite column of fire pierces the sky. Spoiler alert, this was Shiva. They agree that whoever can find the end of this fire is officially the greatest. Vishnu turns into a boar, digs deep down into the earth, but eventually, he admits defeat. Brahma, on the other hand, turns into a swan and flies up, up, up. He couldn't find the top either. But instead of admitting it, he grabs a falling Ketalki flower and actually convinces it to be a false witness, claiming he'd reached the summit.
Well, Shiva, being all-knowing, saw right through the lie and took his true form. He was absolutely enraged by this dishonesty, so much so he actually severed Brahma's 5th head. And this leads us to a massive curse, which essentially acts as the ancient mythological explanation for why you won't find many Brahma temples in India today. Shiva proclaimed that, for his deceit, Brahma would no longer receive an active following or widespread popularity in the mortal realm. Just like that, his worship was pretty much canceled.
But, there's another perspective. The Vishnu Purana offers a much more practical, almost functional explanation. It argues that Brahma's job was simply finished the moment the universe began, whereas preserving and destroying, those are ongoing tasks. Think about it like this. You only need an architect once to build your house, right? But you need someone to maintain it every day, and eventually, way down the line, someone to demolish it so a new one can be built. Because creation is entirely in the past, active daily worship naturally shifted toward Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer.
Which brings us to a real mind-bender. Section 4. Brahma's cosmic clock, the scale of time.
Let's shift our perspective for a second and look at how human time scales against Brahma's time. According to Puranic texts, a single day for him involves thousands of human epochs. In Hindu cosmology, human history is divided into 4 ages, or yugas. One full cycle of these 4 yugas takes about 4.32 million Earth years. Now picture 1,000 of those cycles. That massive, almost incomprehensible span of time is called a kalpa. And get this, one kalpa equals just one single daytime for Brahma. Add another kalpa for his night, and he lives for 100 of these incredibly long years.
Let's do the math on that. That is 311.04 trillion Earth years. Trillion, that is the staggering mortal lifespan of Brahma before he dissolves back into the universe. Yes, despite being the creator, Brahma is actually mortal. When his time is finally up, the universe ends, he dissolves back into the abstract Brahman we talked about earlier, and eventually a brand new cosmic cycle restarts with a totally new Brahma.
To put that into a relatable scale, humanity is currently in the 28th Kali Yuga of the 51st year of the current Brahma's life. It is incredibly humbling to realize that in this vast cosmic timeline, our entire recorded history is just a microscopic blip. We are basically just passing through a tiny fraction of his cosmic afternoon. It really puts our daily human struggles into a completely different perspective, doesn't it?
All right, let's wrap up this mystery by looking at his modern resurgence. Section 5. A global legacy, beyond India.
So, while he might have lost his ground in India, Brahma's reverence absolutely exploded across Southeast Asia. In Bangkok, for example, the famous Erewhon Shrine, dedicated to the Thai representation of Brahma known as Pra Prom, is literally one of the most bustling, actively revered sites in the entire city. Down in Java, Indonesia, the massive 9th century Prambanan temple complex features a huge, prominent temple built solely for him. Even the active Mount Bromo volcano takes its name from him, and it's a sacred site for Javanese Hindus today. Oh, and the historical name for the country of Burma? Derived from Brahmadesa. So the unworshipped creator is actually still very much alive in the cultural heartbeat of Asia.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder about the true nature of creation. If a creator's job is finished the exact moment the universe begins, does he still need to be actively worshipped? Brahma represents the initial spark, the fundamental architecture of reality, the ultimate past. Perhaps his lack of temples isn't a demotion at all, but rather a profound philosophical statement. We honor the builder by simply living in the house, but we interact daily with those who help us maintain it. Thanks so much for exploring the cosmic mystery of Brahma with me.